Hey everyone! Today, we are tackling fractures, but don't worry, we are keeping it short and sweet. Types of fractures. Simple or compound. Open fracture, also called compound fracture, the bone pokes through the skin and can be seen, or a deep wound exposes the bone through the skin. Closed fracture, also called simple fracture. The bone is broken, but the skin is intact. Classification of fracture based on the extent of fracture line. Incomplete fractures, it involves only one surface or cortex of the bone. Complete fracture, here the fracture involves both the cortices and the entire bone. A complete fracture could be undisplaced or displaced. Classification based on fracture patterns. Linear fractures, comminuted fractures, segmental fractures, bone loss. Linear fractures, these could be transverse, oblique or spiral. Any fracture that forms an angle less than 30 degrees with the horizontal line is called transverse. Angle equal to or more than 30 degrees is termed oblique. Comminuted fractures, here the fracture fragments are more than 2 in number. They are further subclassified into less than 50% comminution or more than 50% comminution. Butterfly-shaped fractures are also included in this group. Segmental fractures, a fracture can break into segments, and the segment could be 2-level, 3-level, and a longitudinal split or comminuted. Bone loss, this could be a less than 50% bone loss, more than 50% bone loss, or a complete bone loss. Atypical fractures. A. Green stick fractures. B. Impacted fractures. C. Stress or fatigue fractures. D. Pathological fractures. E. Hairline or crack fracture. F. Torus fracture. A. Green stick fractures, it is seen exclusively in children. Here the bone is elastic and usually bends due to buckling or breaking of one cortex when a force is applied. This is called a green stick fracture. B. Impacted fractures, here the fracture fragments are impacted into each other and are not separated and displaced. C. Stress or fatigue fractures, it is usually an incomplete fracture commonly seen in athletes and in bones subjected to chronic and repetitive stress. D. Pathological fractures, it occurs in a diseased bone and is usually spontaneous. The force required to bring about a pathological fracture is trivial. E. Hairline or crack fracture, it is a very fine break in the bone that is difficult to diagnose clinically. Radiology usually helps, or still better is CT scan. F. Torus fracture, this is just a buckling of the outer cortex.